You're watching The Defense Dynamics and I'm Danveer Singh from New Delhi. This week, we come up with interesting stories from Indian defense, Pakistan, Russia and Israel. There would be a number of questions that would be troubling you and we'll try and answer them. Why India needs submarine hunters for coastal defense in shallow waters? What is D4S and why the world is eyeing for it? Can Pakistan recover and replenish after India's Operation Sindoor strikes? And why Israel's Prime Minister counter group in Gaza being criticized. But before we dive into these stories, let's check out the defense headlines first. The US Air Force tested a 500-pound quick-sink bomb from a B-2 Spirit at Eglin AFB Gulf Test Range. The quick-sink is an anti-ship munition with a precision seeker similar to a JDAM. Further, quick-sink tests are being planned by the Air Force Research Laboratory. Germany will acquire Joint Strike Missile JSM for its F-35 fighter jets. The JSM is a long-range precision-guided missile developed by Norway's Kongsberg. The contract is expected to be signed by mid-2025. The United States Army has tested an autonomous M30 bridge erection board during MISPEX 25 exercises. The system aims to enhance safety and support wet gap crossings in combat zones. Denmark, Finland, Norway and Sweden plan to join the multinational MRTT fleet. The fleet operates Airbus A330 MRTT aircraft for air refueling and medical evacuation missions. The move strengthens Nordic air mobility under NATO's shared resources. Kratos and GE signed a deal to develop new engines for next-generation unmanned systems. The two engines, GEK 800 and 1500, are under development for affordable UAVs. Kratos may offer designs for future US Air Force collaborative combat aircraft programs. While the eyes of the world are often focused on fighter jets, missile systems and aircraft carriers, there's a silent creeping threat beneath the waves. And India is gearing up to meet it, not in the deep sea, but in the shallow waters hugging our coasts. Tonight, we take a closer look at India's next frontline defenders. They are the anti-submarine shallow water craft. In a significant step towards boosting India's coastal security, the Indian Navy is set to commission INS Arnala, the first of 16 anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft or the ASW SWC at the Naval Dockyard in Visakhapatnam this June. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan will preside over the ceremony, which will be hosted by Vice Admiral Rajesh Pandrekar, the Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Eastern Naval Command. So to get a better understanding and the grasp of things, let me tell you that ships are very vulnerable in harbour and at anchorage in shallow waters. So let me take you back to India's military history of 1971 war to understand this aspect. I'm sure you all remember Pakistan Navy's PNS Gaza and her mission objectives. So let me recapitulate that. It was to intercept and destroy INS Vikrant using torpedoes and underwater mines. The idea was that if Vikrant's location is not confirmed, then just lay the mines around Visakhapatnam harbour to block or sink any other major Indian warship. This idea was basically to destroy INS Vikrant before it could set sail into deeper waters of Bay of Bengal. At the start of 1971 war, the Indian Navy's INS Vikrant, a powerful aircraft carrier, was seen as a game changer in the Eastern theatre. Vikrant's deployment posed a major threat to Pakistani forces in eastern Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, as it allowed India to launch airstrikes deep into enemy territory from the sea. Since then, you would say much has changed and so has the tactics. Yes, tactics may have changed, but geography and the vulnerability continues, hence the threat. This time it will not be PNS Gazi or any other submarine like that, but it could be an underwater drone or a midget submarine. Midgets are ultra small submarines operated by 1 to 2 or maybe up to 6 sailors to carry out special missions. The Pakistan has Cosmos class MG-110 midgets. And don't be surprised further, as Pakistan Navy is exploring and developing various types of underwater unmanned vehicles, including autonomous underwater vehicles for both offensive and defensive roles. That means that they are making underwater drones. Hence, the need for India to have anti-submarine shallow water crafts just like INS Arnala. With over 7,500 kilometers of coastline and dozens of strategic naval bases and ports, India's shallow water are a prime target zone for enemy submarines, especially quiet diesel electric ones from adversaries like China and Pakistan, and it is these submarines that these countries can launch the underwater drones or the midget submarines. Pakistan already operates submarines that are capable of sneaking into India's littorals, and China isn't far behind, deploying submarines and sea drones into Indian Ocean under the guise of research. With this backdrop enters the anti-submarine shallow water craft, India's new class of vessels designed to hunt down hostile submarines in coastal waters, where larger warships simply can't operate effectively. Built with lightweight torpedoes, depth charges and advanced sonar, these crafts are small, fast and extremely precise. Their mission is to detect, track and destroy enemy submarines before they can threaten our bases and disrupt our sea traffic. So why they are crucial? Let's break it down. Firstly, they protect strategic naval installations and ports. Secondly, counter Pakistani and Chinese undersea threats, that is from the drones and the midgets. Then they can operate effectively in shallow coastal waters where the larger ships cannot operate. And they fill the gap left by retiring older corvettes. And finally, they strengthen India's multi-layered maritime defense grid. Under the Make in India initiative, 16 of these high-tech vessels are being built by Garden Reach shipbuilders and engineers in Kolkata and Cochin shipyard in Kerala, thus boosting not just defense but domestic industry and creating more jobs. Whether it's about protecting Mumbai, Visakhapatnam or the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, these crafts will be the silent sentinels patrolling India's shores, always ready, always watching beneath the surface. The next battle may not be seen, it will be heard on sonar. And the anti-submarine shallow water craft in our arsenal, India is saying loud and clear, the sea may be shallow, but our defense runs deep. In a dramatic evolution of battlefield technology, India has quietly developed and deployed a cutting-edge shield in the skies, one that is now proving to be a nightmare for Pakistani drones. Welcome to our special report, the Iron Dome Indian edition. While Pakistan continues to launch low-cost drone incursions along India's western borders, they are now colliding with a formidable barrier, the indigenously built D4 system, designed by DRDO to detect, deter and destroy. The framework is fast, earning the nickname India's very own Iron Dome. The D4 system is a silent sentinel, ground-based and often invisible to the naked eye. It's quietly intercepting and neutralizing enemy drones, many of them Turkish supplied, before even they think of breaching the Indian airspace. Now think of laser beams, GPS jamming and electro-optical tracking systems, all meshed into one single integrated web that makes it a deadly concoction. Behind this technological leap is a coordinated mission by DRDO, uniting at least 4 of its labs, that is CHESS in Hyderabad, LRD in Bangalore, IRD in Dehradun, and also the DLRL of Hyderabad. Together they build a multi-sensor fortress that can identify, track and kill drones mid-air, either by scrambling their brains with radio and GPS spoofing or frying them outright with laser precision. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, recently called drones a disruptive force in modern warfare, low cost, high impact and AI driven. That's exactly what Pakistan is attempting. Flood India's skies with swarm of cheap drones to exhaust India's air defence. But India's D4 system flips this equation because lasers don't run out of ammunition. Much like Israel's Iron Dome, the D4 system isn't just reactive, it's preemptive. Vehicle mounted for mobile combat zones and static for protecting critical installations, it offers 360-degree protection, capable of bringing down even small, fast-moving drones with a pinpoint accuracy. And staying true to the Make in India vision, the shield in the sky is being produced right here at home by Bharat Electronics Limited with a network of Indian defence partners. It's already in use by the armed forces at the borders and tactical areas and also deployed at national events as part of high security protocols. It can detect with the help of radars and radio frequency sensors along with electro-optical systems. It identifies using artificial intelligence and threat profiling. It can deter by jamming, spoofing and signal denial, and finally destroy with the high energy lasers as a hard kill countermeasure. From border battles to ceremonial skies, India's drone defence net is now active, invisible and lethal. The message is clear. Our skies are not just defended, they are fortified. This is India's answer to drone age. In the shadow of one of the most daring air operations in recent memory by the Indian military during Operation Sindoor, Pakistan is racing to rebuild what the Indian Air Force took down. A high-level delegation from the Pakistan Air Force is heading to Turkey this month, urgently seeking replacements for mission-critical mobile command units destroyed during the Indian Air Force's precision strike. Operation Sindoor, launched by the Indian Air Force between May 8th and the 10th, targeted key Pakistani Air Force installations, including the Noor Khan Air Base near Rawalpindi. The outcome? Decisive damage to infrastructure and total destruction of 2 high-value assets, the Next Generation Mobile Mission Control Centers or the NGMMCCS. These mobile control centers weren't just trucks with radars. Co-developed with the Turkish defense firms, the Pakistan Air Force CENTAC unit and NGMMCCs featured AI-powered decision support tools, secure plug-and-play network and rapid deployment capability, designed to be the PAF's, that is Pakistan Air Force's, last line of resilience in the conflict scenario. The strike not only wiped out these mobile C-2 systems, but also crippled a C-130 transport aircraft parked nearby. According to multiple sources, the damage was so precise, it effectively neutralized Pakistan's ability to maintain air command continuity if its main hubs were compromised. Now in damage control mode, a delegation from Pakistan Air Force's National Aerospace Science and Technology Park or the NASTP is heading to Turkey. Their mission is to seek replacements from defense giants like the Havelsan or the Aselsan. These are the firms with long-standing relationship with the Pakistani defense and technology setups. Operation Sindoor didn't just hit Noor Khan. It also disabled a TPS-43J radar system in Sukkur and likely damaged a hangar housing Saab 2000 AWAC aircraft at Bolari. The cumulative effect, a sharp dent in Pakistan's air defense network, leaving critical surveillance and command gaps. What if we told you that one of the most fortified airspaces in the world, Russia's, was breached not by fighter jets or ballistic missiles, but by a fleet of drones hidden inside containers? That's exactly what happened on June 1st of 2025. In an operation codenamed Spider Web, Ukrainian drones flew over 4,000 kilometers deep into Russian territory, hitting multiple air bases and destroying at least 40 aircrafts. A jaw-dropping strike that left the world stunned. But it was what didn't work that shocked the military watchers even more. Russia's famous S-400 and 500 air defense systems advertised as world-class, failed to stop these attacks. But was this failure of technology or of the strategy? The truth is, S-400 is built to target fast, high-flying threats, not low-flying autonomous drones. These drones slipped under radar coverage, exploited absence of low-level defenses, and bypassed complex command networks that couldn't react fast enough. India, meanwhile, has been taking notes, and what happened over Russian skies has only validated India's new approach, one tested successfully just weeks ago in Operation Sindoor. Facing a multi-layered attack from Pakistan missiles, drones and radar jammers, India launched a calibrated, technology-driven response. The result, Pakistan's HQ-9 systems, radars, posts and terror launch pads neutralized without losing command integrity. At the core of this success is Akashteer, India's homegrown real-time air defense command system. Think of it as a digital war room that unifies Army, Navy, Air Force into one battle grid. It tracks aerial threats, prioritizes targets and assigns interceptors automatically within seconds. It's not just one system. India has created a layered web of defenses. Akash missile system handles threat up to 25 kilometers away. The modernized L-70 guns, upgraded and radar-guided with precision, bring down drones as low as 3,000 meters. Together, they cover what S-400 cannot do at low level in the asymmetric threat environment. Why layers matter? Why is this important? Because the future of warfare isn't in textbooks. Drones, swarms, hidden launchers, AI-guided systems, they are rewriting the rules. And the new single-tier defense system won't cut it anymore. India's approach stands out not just for its effectiveness, but because it's largely indigenous. From Akashteer to Akash missiles and modern L-70s to homegrown radars, India is reducing dependence on imports and building a self-reliant defense ecosystem. Russia's failure was a wake-up call. India's layered real-time and domestic solution is looking more and more like a global model. In the wars of tomorrow, intelligent fusion beats imported firepower, and India may have just written the playbook. Now we turn to Gaza, where a new controversial phase in Israel's war against Hamas is unfolding. It doesn't involve airstrikes or tanks, but something far less visible and far more unpredictable. Arming the local militias, or we talk in the military parlance, the counter groups. Prime Minister Netanyahu has confirmed the move, saying it's a strategic step to weaken Hamas from within. But critics, some within Israel's own defense establishment, warn it could spiral into long-term security threat. Is Israel empowering resistance or risking chaos? Let's decode it.
The Israeli government argues this is about leveraging internal divisions in Gaza. In a recent statement, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel had activated clans that oppose Hamas, calling the move not just legitimate but effective. But the former defense minister, Lieberman, sees it very differently. He says Israel is distributing rifles to what he calls crime families groups that could eventually use those same weapons against Israeli forces. His warning, it's complete madness.
In the war-torn landscape of southern Gaza, a new kind of force is emerging, backed quietly but now openly acknowledged by Israel. The tribal militias led by figures like Yasser Abu Sabab. They are receiving weapons, reportedly, to challenge Hamas dominance from inside. Sources say these groups operating under names like the Popular Forces and the Anti-Terrorism Unit have been active around Rafah, especially in areas where Hamas control is weaker. Their mission is to fight Hamas, disrupt their operations and regain clan-based influence. But this isn't a traditional resistance movement. According to reports, some of these fighters have criminal past, allegedly having connections to ISIS-inspired groups and a history of looting humanitarian aid. Line between security partners and armed gang is beginning to blur.
Israeli officials argue this isn't about building a permanent force. It's a tactical move to destabilize Hamas and take advantage of fractures in Gazan society. But experts warn the risks are growing. Firstly, the militia have limited loyalty. Secondly, tribal leaders in Gaza have rejected their legitimacy. And thirdly, the weapons, once distributed, can't easily be controlled. Security analysts describe the strategy as high risk with no guarantee of long-term success. One even called it a fantasy, not a strategy.
Yasser Abu Shabab, a man at the center of this operation, is no stranger to controversy. Once imprisoned for theft, he is now leading a militia that controls part of eastern Rafah. Photos show him armed, standing near UN convoys. Hamas has labeled him as a traitor and vowed retaliation. Arabic and Western analysts suggest the group has roots in cross-border smuggling networks and may have rebranded itself several times to obscure its affiliations from criminal gangs to Salafi jihadist cells. Inside Gaza, Hamas has responded fiercely. In a statement, they accuse Israel of trying to create social chaos by arming what they call criminal collaborators. The group has promised to confront these gangs no matter what's the cost. Meanwhile, militia denies receiving Israeli aid, claiming their weapons are outdated and locally sourced. But video evidence suggests otherwise. Fighters have been wearing new gear marked with anti-terror service in both Arabic and English, raising more questions than the answers. What happens next is unclear. Netanyahu has got presented a long-term plan for Gaza governance. With no stable alternatives to Hamas, critics worry that arming militias could backfire, creating a new order. But new wave of instability. Israeli intelligence agencies are reportedly divided over this issue. While some support the short-term benefits, others warn that this may turn into a self-inflicted threat down the line. As the war in Gaza drags on, Israel's strategy is shifting from direct confrontation to unconventional warfare. But with every rifle handed over and every group empowered, the future becomes harder to predict. Just like airstrikes carry the risk of regional escalation, proxy militia carry the risk of internal collapse.
Israel says it's dismantling Hamas from the inside, But by arming tribal fighters with unclear motives and questionable past, it may be building a new threat in the shadows. In the end, the strategy may not be judged by how many Hamas fighters are weakened, but by what kind of Gaza is left behind. The guns are in the hands of militias, the consequences still uncertain. With video journalist Manoj, Nancy Baloda for DD India.
When it comes to indigenization and own support to our own armed forces from within, I think India is doing a great job. When we talk of Israel and the Hamas conflict and support to the counter group, I have a different take over this. If we go back to 1970s, it was same Israel that was supporting Hamas at one point in time to oust the Palestinian Liberation Organization of Yasser Arafat. And down the line, we all are aware and we all are seeing what has happened to the Middle East and to the Gaza. That's all in this episode of Defense Dynamics. Thank you for joining us. Do post your comments with #DD with Tanvi. See you next week, decoding complex defense stories. Till then, goodbye and take care.